We have a lot to talk about. Ever since my last theory video came out, a ton of more lore has been released. With the most recent update coming out, the release of some recording log scripts, and even an interview with the lead writer, there's a lot I need to cover. But before I start, I want to quickly recap my last theory video for those who haven't watched it yet. I highly recommend watching that video first since I go more in detail and it'll help you understand everything a lot better. But long story short, I theorized that the notes and writings on the walls meant something more than what's at surface level. I came to the conclusion that they were made by something or someone as a way to try and help us. And I think I was really onto something there, but I didn't quite hit the point. Which is why today, I'm going to try my best to piece everything together with the new information we have. Starting with the new update. About a month ago, Apeirophobia received an update that featured revamped levels, entities, and other smaller things. Some of the smaller things include level 9 having a subtle but important change. It now contains arrows that all point towards the exit. This is important for later on, and builds more evidence for my previous theory. But the main thing I want to talk about from that update is the newly revamped level 16. With this new revamp came a new objective, a new badge, and a new cutscene. Upon collecting the first item in this level, the arrows change, pointing you in the direction of the next item. Even our character notices it. Again, building more evidence that these arrows mean something more. After collecting all 3 items, the objective now is to trap the mutated howler and set it on fire. This is important to the story, and I'll be explaining what I think it means later on. By doing this, it disintegrates the entity, leading to the end of the cutscene. And I think I have an idea of what this could mean. But before I reveal what that is, I want to discuss a lot of important background context you need to know in order to understand this theory entirely. Around the time of the update, Minimum, the lead writer of the game, gave me a very cryptic message. In this message, it states, "When you call for help, no one will answer. You know from experience. Find out. Deep inside, you know you need to atone." Which leads me to believe this person that needs to atone is none other than our character. Let me explain. If we take a look at Minimum's old profile, his bio read, "It feels as if this is all in my head. Is any of this even real?" Which is a quote from a wanderer who lost his way blinded by sin. Blinded by sin. Sins that he knows he needs to atone for. So if we put 2 and 2 together, we can confirm who this cryptic message is talking about. The only problem is, what does our character need to atone for? At the moment, this is still unexplained, but I believe we'll find out what this means in chapter 2. With that being said, let's move on to our next important topic, the recording log scripts. Once again, these come from Minimum. These are very important and reveal a lot of information, so I highly suggest paying attention to what's coming next. There are 4 logs, all numbered by day and by corresponding log. The first one is labeled Day 129, Log 31. It reads, "This is Dr. Holland. The patient has not woken up from his coma. He's been out cold ever since the incident. He has not shown signs of waking up anytime soon. God knows how long he'll be stuck in that coma. His injuries have been recovering steadily, though he's nowhere near a full recovery. That car must have really messed him up. We've tried all we can do, but we don't know if he'll ever wake up from this coma. He might be dead soon, for all we know. The best bet is that he's experiencing some vision within his head. Maybe memories fabricate reality for him. I hope it's a good one at that. If that fabrication is made up of nightmares, regrets, he'll be going through a very bad time." Now I know that might have been a lot to take in, but don't worry, because I'm going to be explaining what I think it means. First of all, we are introduced to our first official character in the timeline, Dr. Holland. Dr. Holland is a name that appears throughout all 4 logs I'll be discussing, so keep an eye on him. In this first log, Dr. Holland talks about a patient who's been put in a coma due to some sort of incident. Using some context clues, we can confirm that this patient is in fact the character we play as in Apeirophobia. We can come to this conclusion because of the references to a fabricated reality, which of course is what we're experiencing in-game. Towards the end of the log, we also get our first mention of the feeling of regret. Now, some things I won't mention, such as the car crash incident or the injuries, are things that I won't be covering today. This is a common theme in all of the logs, but I've decided to talk about it in a separate video considering we don't have any real idea on what it means at the moment. With that being said, what can we take from this log? Well, it sounds like our character was in some sort of accident causing them to fall into a coma, which is where the game takes place. This claim supports what we read in Minimum's old bio. And it sounds like this Dr. Holland character is the one going to be looking after them. Now, let's move on to the second log. This log is titled Day 247, Log 49. It reads, "This is Dr. Holland. The patient has not woken up from his coma. He hasn't shown signs of waking up anytime soon either. This might be for the worse. On the bright side, we've had some movement, if you would call it that. During the night, the patient would occasionally twitch or sweat. This can be taken as a sign that he's experiencing a fabricated reality within his head, which is what we were hoping for. However, the last sign has me worrying for his well-being. He whimpers at least once every day, more close to the morning. This is one of the core signs that he is experiencing a nightmarish reality, or otherwise known as a lucid nightmare. A nightmare that he's able to control, but he can't, and his sins and regrets take over. That's what I think. Only time will tell though. His injuries have not been recovered yet. 2 of his 5 broken ribs have recovered fully. His arm is healed and his jaw is also wired back up and is now in good shape. He was really messed up. All we can do is pray for him. God knows how to help." Again, in this log, it talks about the patient, or our character I should say, still experiencing this coma. Similar to the injuries, this is also going to be a common theme considering, well, the game is still going on. Anyways, in this log, Dr. Holland talks about our character twitching and sweating while experiencing their coma. After this, he explains that they, presumably meaning other doctors as well, believe he is experiencing a fabricated reality, which is another mention of this made-up reality we keep hearing about. But now they believe this to be worrisome, saying things like he's experiencing a nightmarish reality, a reality he can control but is being held back by his sins and regrets. Sins that he knows he needs to atone for. Then at the end of the log, Dr. Holland mentions that only God knows how to help. This will be an important detail later on. So what does this log mean? Well, it confirms that the game takes place in our character's mind, a fabricated reality. A reality made up of his memories, except only these memories are filled with regrets. Let's move on to our next log. Log 122, Day 492. It reads, "This is Dr. Holland here. Something weird is happening. For some reason, they've been rolling him out of his room to try some new technology. Something about bending the reality he inhabits in his mind. Maybe they might be able to direct him to some kind of thing. No idea though. Arrows or some crap. I've been kind of frustrated with them, so please mind my language if anyone else finds this. The patient's status has been relatively normal. Twitching has increased by a very small margin, and he's been recovering normally. Oh, I've got to go. They're calling me over. We're trying all we can to help you, kid. God is as well." So yeah, this confirms a huge theory of mine. The arrows are being made by someone. Or people, I should say. It sounds like this team of doctors are the ones behind the arrows. They know our character is experiencing a nightmarish reality and they're trying to help guide him through his mind. This is the new technology Dr. Holland mentions in the beginning of the log. But he sounds frustrated with the others. It seems like he isn't all for this new technology. He states that he feels something weird is happening. It isn't explained why he's frustrated, so any guesses are just speculation. But at the end, there's another mention of God. Like I said before, keep this in mind for now. Let's move on to our last and final log. This one is labeled Day 666, Log 172. It reads, "This is, Dr. Holland. I'm gonna make this quick. This kid doesn't have long left. His injuries have been replenished, but his physical state isn't well at all. It's been actually quite terrifying to say the least. He's been twitching violently every now and then. He's always sweating. We had to set him with a full blast on the AC to make sure he doesn't sweat too much. I don't know what is going on with his mind. He's going insane, it seems like. I haven't been feeling too well myself. Watching this kid has made me feel really uneasy, and this is going to be the last vlog I'm making. May God help this kid, because he is his only hope. I'm gonna go home and pray." Alright, so this one has a lot of little details, so here's what I think it means. First of all, the day this log was made is obviously a reference to the Mark of the Beast. The Mark of the Beast is commonly known as the number 666, which again is another reference to religion. Besides that, it sounds like our character's physical injuries have been completely healed. However, his mental state is still suffering. You don't say. On top of that, he's still twitching and sweating, even more than ever now. And it sounds like this Dr. Holland character is also experiencing something as well, most likely from being around our character so much. But again, he ends it off by saying God is his only hope. Okay, now you're probably wondering why I keep telling you to pay attention to the references of religion. If you've been keeping up with the channel recently, you'll know that I made a video covering an upcoming graveyard level. Why is that important, you might ask? Well, if you've been paying attention, you'll know there happens to be a church appearing in this level, and I think this will serve a huge purpose in Chapter 2. Alongside this, Maximum, a developer for Apeirophobia, said on stream that he could implement a lot of lore into this graveyard level. Roll the clip.
It was an interesting way I planned it. So the idea is for that level, originally when we had time, it was going to be Metallica themed, because For Whom the Bell Tolls, church bell.
Yeah.
But also I thought, hey, I can also fit a lot of the story into this level too, and it will actually fit in with the game all right. So I can just kind of, push those two together.
So I believe all these references to God, the Mark of the Beast, and other religious symbolism is going to all add up within this next update, specifically in the new graveyard level. Need more proof? Let's take a quick trip back to a previous video of mine. In this video, I theorized about the mysterious drawing boards scattered around level 6. These boards show the repeated phrase why, multiple question marks, and lastly, the most important one out of all, a drawing of 4 trees on a hill. Now, up until now, I had no idea what to make of it. But let's take a look at an Update 4 sneak peek we saw quite a while ago. The subway station. Specifically, this teaser up on screen. What do we see on this wall here? A drawing of 3 trees on a hill. What upcoming level do we know that has trees? The graveyard. See where I'm going with this? Now, it's easy to say that since we know the game takes place in our character's mind, the drawings could just be him envisioning a graveyard from a real-life experience. But I want to dig deeper. There's actually a story in the Bible about 3 trees, which is what I believe this drawing is referring to, considering the other hints to religion. The story is about what each of the trees hope to be in the future. One tree wishes to be a chest filled with the best treasures. One wishes to be a ship carrying a mighty king, and one wishes to wait on the hill, quietly pointing up at heaven, hoping people would look at it and think of God. Eventually, these 3 trees get cut down, being turned into things they didn't dream of. But later on, it's revealed that they were turned into things they dreamed of, just not the way they envisioned it. The first tree becomes a cradle for a different kind of treasure, a newborn baby. The second tree becomes a sailboat for a man who can control the sea's storms, the king of heaven and earth. And finally, the last tree becomes the cross Jesus was crucified on, a symbol of Christianity. Okay, so how is any of this relevant to the story of Apeirophobia? Well, this may be a stretch, but maybe this fourth tree here is our character. It could be a way of symbolizing that you should be careful for what you wish for. More specifically, our character should be careful for what he wishes for. All three of the trees wished for something, but got a different result than expected, except only that it was still a positive outcome. Now I know this sounds far-fetched, but what if this is the case for our character? Instead of wishing for something and getting a positive outcome, it was a negative one. I believe this could tie in with his regrets and sins. Nonetheless, even if this isn't the case, there's still a purpose for these trees. It's apparent that our character is confused as to why this is happening to him. The repeated phrase, why, and the question marks on the drawing boards reveal this. We can confirm these are his thoughts, as it is well established these levels take place in his mind. Further proof of this is shown in a previous teaser trailer for the update. Towards the end of the trailer, a line of Morse code is played. When deciphering this Morse code, it reveals the phrase, "It's not real," which is referring to how this all takes place in our character's mind. He's confused as to why he's being put through this, but deep down, he knows why. Okay, let's backtrack now. Near the beginning of this video, I said I believed I knew what the ending cutscene of level 16 meant. And now with all this background information, I can finally reveal what I think it means. I believe that by killing the entity, our character is trying to let go of his regrets and atone for his sins. Let me explain. After reading all the logs, we now know the game is more than confirmed to take place in our character's mind, a fabricated reality made up of memories. But of course, we know it's more than just that, and so do the doctors looking after our character, specifically Dr. Holland. They know he's experiencing a nightmarish reality, and they're trying to do everything they can to help, going as far as implementing new technology to help guide our character, guiding our character with arrows. Dr. Holland himself even says that if our character lets his sins and regrets take over, he'll be going through a bad time. And I think these sins or regrets are represented through the entities. It was revealed in my stream when I interviewed Minimum that the entities all have a part in the story. I think this is one of their purposes, and I think our character setting the deformed howler on fire symbolizes him trying to atone for his sins. The game taking place in our character's mind can also explain why some level exits don't really make sense. Like us jumping off the edge in level 2 and arriving in level 3 without any sort of injury. Or us arriving in level 16 from level 15 despite the levels having no correlation. They don't have to make sense because they're made up in someone's mind. Our character's mind. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Anyways, that's all the information I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video since I had a ton of fun theorizing. I tried really hard to connect everything we know so far, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with what I came up with. Let me know what you guys think about it below. And of course, if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. I plan to post more videos just like this, and I also cover everything Apeirophobia related so you won't miss out. With that being said, stay tuned for next upload. Bye.